All right. Hello, this is Wmpyr, back again with another Captain Fairbairn video. Yeah, so you guys may have noticed that I'm a big fan of Captain Fairbairn. I study his work for many years now, and I will continue to do so. His method is extremely important to my system because he has highly influenced me, and yeah, this is I'm here to share my interpretation with you guys. And my primary source was Get Tough, and yeah, that book was the book called Get Tough was by far my primary source for many years. And just until recently, I started looking at Hands Off. So this is, I would say this is a good sequel to Get Tough, except Hands Off is specifically for women's self-defense. There's a lot of crossover, and in fact, to me, I feel like studying Hands Off helps you understand Get Tough more. So now I'm going to talk about a specific technique here called the matchbox defense. And this same technique was also introduced in Get Tough. So really, the sex doesn't matter, male or female. You can use this. He right here. It's technique number 18, matchbox, and then after that it says in parentheses warning. So this is one of the moves that he feels is extremely powerful, very dangerous, and there are some details that he presents here that was missing in Get Tough. So that's very nice in when you're studying this technique, because you're getting more detail. Um, And like when I look at this book, Hands Off, a lot of his stuff, and I was just talking to my buddies earlier in the day. My buddies in Japan, they're martial arts, longtime martial artists, martial arts instructors, and they're also big fans of Captain Fairbairn. And we were saying that with Captain Fairbairn's stuff, which is designed for extreme situations, and a lot of people are trying to use it for today's self-defense, which they're not trying to use Captain Fairbairn's method. They're trying to use methods that I believe will trace back to Captain Fairbairn, but I feel like they're really not understanding um, what Captain Fairbairn meant as far as self-defense goes. And one of the clues to that is when you look at his books, Get Tough or Hands Off, um, the scenarios that he shows, you don't see this guy getting into like a fighting stance. So this is not combat sports. And that sounds like I'm putting down combat sports and saying, oh, this is street, this is not sport. I'm not one of those people. I greatly respect combat sports, and I believe Captain Fairbairn did too. And that's why he was a Kodokan black belt in judo. So this guy put in the time to learn combat sports, a significant amount of time. He didn't just learn enough. No, he like my student told me he's I think he said 6 degree black belt. I mean that's no joke, especially back in the day for a foreigner. It's really no joke. So the guy really put in his time and effort into the sport of judo. So yeah, I don't want to hear that argument of, oh, it's sport and street. The guy really respected it, but um, that being said, the scenarios that he depicts are definitely street scenarios. It's not a, are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on. It's not that. Anyway, so for this matchbox, this is like a primary technique that emphasizes that, because here, I'm going to read it to you guys. The use of the matchbox is one of the most drastic methods of defense that it is possible to employ and must only be used when the situation calls for drastic action. So I'm going to emphasize that, okay? If you think that, you're in line somewhere, concert or going to the movies, and someone's acting like a jerk, this is not when you're going to use this technique, okay? So someone could be hostile, someone could be a total bully, someone could even get violent, but this is not for that, okay? You know, I I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but this is not for you to feel like Superman and be the lion, the alpha male, the king of the jungle. This is not for that. This has nothing to do with ego. This has nothing to do with making your life comfortable. This has nothing to do with what you think society should be like or how people should behave. No. This is when your life is in danger, you use this. Has nothing to do with all that other stuff. So he said it right here. When the situation calls for drastic action. Okay. So, okay. Now I'm going to continue reading. Further, students are warned to be extremely careful when testing the force of the blow on themselves. Otherwise, it is quite possible for them to render themselves unconscious. So he's saying this is a knockout blow. Okay? This is to knock people unconscious. This is to give people brain damage. Okay? So it's one of those moves. This is a finisher. All right, the next part says, the advantage of using a matchbox as compared with a stick or other weapon lies in the surprise and complete unexpectedness of this form of attack. Any person not previously aware of this method of defense, seeing you take an ordinary matchbox out of a purse or pocket, would not be suspicious or on his guard. So he's saying you're going to sucker shot the guy. You are going to cheap shot the other person. You're going to catch them off guard. This is assault. So to me, this is the part where I was saying earlier, this is not sport. And if you are going to assault somebody, it needs to be life or death. You cannot assault someone to save the day. You cannot assault someone to, put someone in their place. No. You're assaulting someone because you feel like you're about to die. And you feel like you got no other choice. So, let's make that clear. So for me, there's a lot of interpretation, and I'm not saying that I'm right and everybody else is wrong, but I am saying that for me this makes sense, and I'm just sharing with you my opinion, my perspective. These are my notes on Captain Fairbairn's work. Okay. All right, and then he gives further detailed examples. There are several situations in which the use of a matchbox might easily be the only possible means of defense. A. You are driving a car and have picked up a hitchhiker. He suddenly sticks a gun in your ribs. B. You are unexpectedly stopped on a dark road with a demand, give me a light or hand over the bag. So anyway, those are situations where you've been held up. And a lot of his stuff goes into that kind of, especially in this book, Hands Off, where you're being held up by the bad guy. You're in a compromised position, and he's using deception to assault them and take them out. And okay, so now let me go into the actual technique for the matchbox. So you're holding the matchbox, and in especially like Get Tough, when you see it, I felt like from the illustrations, you see, Get Tough was illustrated. This book is photographs. So it's nice to have both. And it's the same technique, like I said. And in this one right here, it's photographs. And what I gather is when I saw it in Get Tough, it was a pretty much a ridge hand, like you see in like in Taekwondo or in some uh, traditional karate. It's a ridge hand technique, is what I thought, right? Here, looking at the photo, he's not demonstrating it. This young lady's demonstrating the technique, and it looks more almost like a hook punch. Okay, and I am not a big fan of the ridge hand. In my past, I had buddies that at least one guy was a Taekwondo guy, and ridge hand was his one of his moves that he liked. For me, it wasn't it. He would use it. For me, it wasn't. I did not like it, and it's just personal preference. I'm not saying that it's a bad technique. It's just for me, it never worked. So watching it here, look, what I want you guys to do is you make a fist, right? And on the thumb side is where you're going to be striking. So have your open hand on the other hand. So let's say your right hand is making the fist, and then with your left hand have an open palm and actually hit your palm. Okay, hard. Try that a couple of times and see how that works out for you. Try it in a ridge hand format, try it more like in a hook format. When I do it in a hook format, like in this book, I feel like it's pretty devastating. And I like it a lot more. Now, for me, I'm not really don't see myself using this technique. I guess if I had the opportunity, why hold myself? Why limit myself? Why hold back? I would use it, but I'm just saying that it's not something that I feel like I need to put in a lot of reps and it's going to be one of my favorites and one of my first to go techniques. It's not. That being said, I do give Captain Fairbairn a lot of credit, and I know that he favors this technique. He puts it in 2 books at least, so he obviously highly thinks of it. So that I give a lot of weight to. I gotta listen. But just my own personal preference, not a huge fan, but I still want to study and try to understand his techniques because I feel like Captain Fairbairn has a lot to offer. So that's why I'm studying this and I'm sharing it with you guys. But now I feel like I like this technique a little bit more. When you throw it more like a hook, you can actually make contact with the side of your first knuckle, and that just feels a lot more solid than your traditional ridge hand where it's with the thumb. And yeah, I that doesn't, no matter how I tuck my thumb in, it doesn't feel good. So anyway, that's personal. You guys all try it out for yourselves. Don't listen to me. Try it for yourself. That's the most important thing. Try it. And if it doesn't work, don't say the technique doesn't work. Just say it's not for me, and that's fine. Um, so anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.